move on to the next major sign, which is the destruction of the Kaaba. The destruction of the Kaaba, extraction of all of its treasures, and basically looting of it. Imam Bukhari and Muslim, Imam Nasa'i have related from Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu that the Kaaba will be destroyed by two thin carved people from the Abyssinian people. Could be exactly from Abyssinia itself, it could be from the general of Africa. So it will be two very thin carved people thin legs, right, from Abyssinia. Imam Ahmad, so I'm going to mention the different narrations first. Imam Ahmad relates from Ibn Amr radiyallahu an, Abdullah ibn Amr radiyallahu an, similar narration, but he adds in there, and they will take from it its treasures, because there's some treasure that's buried there, which Umar radiallahu anhu or somebody had mentioned that they wanted to take out, but it was buried, it stayed in there, that it was not permitted to be taken out. And they will also denude it from its cloth, its covering. The cloth will also be taken away. And the Prophet ﷺ said, it is as though I'm looking at this. It's as if the vision was being played in his mind. So it's as though I'm looking at a person with a bald head at the front, person with no hair at the front, who has a crooked hands, and he is hitting at it with a pickaxe. So it's like this scene was being played in the Prophet ﷺ's mind when he was mentioning this. Azraqi has related that they will come from the sea, because there is a gulf between North Africa, between Africa and Arabia. There is a gulf, there's water. So they will come from there, from the Sudan. In this one it just mentions the Sudan, so just talking about Africans in general. And then they will come until they get to the Kaaba, and they will destroy it. By the one in whose hand my nafs is, my life is, I'm looking at it. It is as though I'm looking at it. That the person will have legs will have a lot of distance between them. So kind of like broad, but thin legs. A lot of space between the two. And again, crooked hands and bald patch. Standing up, hitting at the Kaaba, destroying it, taking it down bit by bit. Imam Hakim relates from Hadith ibn Suwayd that I heard Ali radiyallahu anhu saying, Hujju qabla an la tahujju. Go and perform your Hajj before you are unable to perform Hajj. فَكَأَنِّي أَنظُرُ إِلَى حَبَشِيٍّ. It is as though I am looking at a Habashi, at an African person, an Abyssinian person, who is with that description that I mentioned earlier. And he's got in his hand, he's got this pickaxe, and he's taking the Kaaba down stone by stone. So it'll take their time in doing it. And maybe it's because there's nobody there, because people have left it. So he doesn't have to argue with anybody, he doesn't have to confront anybody. He's taking it down brick by brick, stone by stone. So then the narrator says that I asked him, is this something you're just saying through your own opinion? Is this something you just are saying by your own deliberation? Or you heard this from the Prophet ﷺ? He said, no, by the one who has caused the seed to germinate and for a living creature to be created. I have heard this from your Prophet ﷺ. That's why it mentions again that go and do as much tawaf as possible around the house before you are prevented from doing so. I mean, we're already being prevented from doing so by the exorbitant rates. Just an umrah in Ramadan for a family costs about 8,000 to 10,000 pounds for a family of 4 or 5. So Hajj is going to probably be a lot more. There's another narration which is a bit more detailed. It says that a person will be, the pledge will be taken, the pledge will be given to a person between the Rukn and the Maqam Ibrahim, which is talking about the Mahdi. However, this house will not be made halal except by its own people. Its own people will be the ones that will consider it to violate it, will violate it. When they do violate it, then don't ask about the destruction of the Arabs. Once you've violated the haram, the house, then do not ask about the destructions of the Arabs in general. Then after that will the Abyssinians come, and they will destroy it in such a way that after it will never be inhabited. And they will also be the ones that will extract its treasure. Now, there is a verse in the Quran which says, أَوَلَمْ يَرَوْا أَنَّا جَعَلْنَا حَرَمًا آمِنًا. That don't they see that we have made this into a protected and safe place, a place of safety and protection, which is speaking about the haram. That we've made this into a safe place. So how is it possible that this will happen if that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in the Quran? Also, we've got, historically speaking, everybody should know the story of the elephants. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala divinely helped them, and that's mentioned in the Quran. So these elephants were rooted by that, and they were unable to destroy the Kaaba. That time it wasn't even the Qibla yet. So despite that, even before Islam, that happened. So how is it that these Abyssinians will come by and take it down stone by stone? How is that possible? After it's become a Qibla of the Muslimin. So the answer to this is that obviously this is going to happen right towards the end of time, very close to the Day of Judgment, when there will be nobody left that would be saying Allah, Allah. So there will be no Muslims left. This will be after its complete desolation, after the wind has blown. That soft wind has blown, there's no Muslims left, nobody say Allah, Allah. So now these people are coming and finding the treasure and taking it down. However, the hadith which we read earlier, that nobody can violate this place except its own inhabitants. And that's what that you have an answer in there of why this might happen. So for example, during the time of the elephants, it wasn't the inhabitants of that area that had made any violation. In fact, they were trying to protect it. Abdul Muttalib was trying to protect it. The enemy was from outside, they were trying to come in. The local people had not visited it, they had actually looked after it. So since that was the case, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prevented it, because they had themselves not contravened anything. Now, these Habasha, these Abyssinians, they can only come and do this, and have only been given the ability to do this after its own people, meaning after the people in the haram have violated its sanctity more than once. And you know from the history that we've already read that that has happened twice at least. In fact, it's happened 3 times. It's happened during Abdullah ibn Zubair's time, radiyallahu an. Hajjaj did it. It happened before that, initially. Then it happened again after that, when the Batinites came and stole the stone. For a number of years, the black stone was taken to Egypt, if you remember. And that's why on the way back finally it was broken. And now what you see in there is not the whole stone, but pieces of the stone. You just never get a chance to go and look at it properly, but it's just pieces of the stone that are stuck in on the surface of the inside of that casing that you see. So you find that, number one, the people of Sham, during the time of Yazid, they came and they attacked Makkah Mukarramah initially. Then Hajjaj did it during Abdul Malik ibn Marwan's time against Abdullah ibn Zubayr. If you remember, it was Hajj time, he said everybody leave quickly, and then they started attacking. Then the Qaramita, they're the ones who did it the 3rd time, and they killed so many people in the Mataf area, right? And they took the Hajar, they took the stone. So it's after the people themselves have violated it that this will be allowed to happen. But again, it will happen towards the end of time when there will be nobody left. So that shows that yes, it is a haram, it is a sanctified area, Allah has made it a place of peace, but eventually, when there's no Muslims left, it will lose that. It will no longer be like that. So there'll be obviously no Hajj at that time. This will be when nobody's left. So there's going to be no Hajj being performed at that time. Nobody to say Allah, Allah. So all of these things are possible. The whole world is going to be, Qiyamah will come. So I mean, the destruction of the Kaaba would have been part of that, but it will happen before that at the hands of these people. Because the Kaaba is very important. That's our Qibla. And it will remain as long as there are people to go to face towards it and pray, to go around it and make tawaf. Now when there's nobody left to make tawaf, there's nobody left to pray towards it, because no Muslims left, all the believers have died because of the soft wind that will blow before the Day of Judgment. So now khalas, there will be nobody left. So the Kaaba will go. And then after that the world will not even be able to be sustained. Because it says that the nourishment of this world is Allah, Allah. And when there's nobody left to say Allah, Allah, to take the name, then the world will also come to an end. However, the ulama have looked at this, and as with everything else, they look at all of the possible scenarios. So they said, let's just assume that somebody did take down the house even before then. I mean, from the narrations that we have about the prophecy that it will happen at this time and they will take it down one by one, it indicates that it will happen towards the end, right? So inshallah it will not happen before that while Muslims are still alive and living. But let's just say that if it did happen, it's not a problem in the sense that it's a problem, but it's not a problem that your salat will not count. The salat has nothing to do with the building itself, because it's actually that particular location as such, the atmospherical area, whether there's a building there or not, a large or a small building. That's why even if you're in a hotel room, next to it, even looking at it, you do not have to pray at an incline, but you pray in its direction. Because the Kaaba is that particular location up to the seventh heaven. So regardless of where you are, you pray in that direction. You don't have to face the Kaaba itself directly, unless you're on the ground near it, within a short vicinity of it, where you face it directly. So whether there's a building there or not, it doesn't make a difference. You will still face in that direction, salat would still be there. So nobody would be able to make an excuse, there's no building, there's no salat. Because at the end of the day, it's a building. It's the area which is the special sanctified area. The next one is, what is the next sign? To tell the truth, this particular sign we just spoke about, the destruction of the Kaaba, we did it a bit early. That should have come after some of the other signs. Because we haven't talked about the wind yet. We haven't talked about the sun rising from the west. We haven't spoken about the beast. And this destruction of the Kaaba is supposed to take place after that. However, the reason why we spoke about it right now is because there is a narration that seems to indicate that it will happen during the time of Isa alayhi salam, or Mahdi's time. But that's a weak narration that doesn't, it's not really strong. But we decided to deal with it then.